Hi, welcome back, guys. Now I really want to get into just the heroes of the storm is what I associate them as, because of all the videos I've watched and seeing what everybody's had to endure, I just couldn't imagine. But it's amazing that they did have so many people there that were just strictly there to help them. People from out of town, people from out of state. It's just incredible. And what I mean by this is like volunteers. You had EMS, you had police, you had the firefighters, nurses, doctors. You had everyday people just trying so hard to find survivors and just help. And you have to imagine with law enforcement, all the first responders, they had to like navigate through all this debris. You had like trees, cars, everything blocking the road. So it was just such a tough thing for these people to do. And somehow they did it. They really pushed on. And now we got to talk about the nurses at St. John's Medical Center. They really had to act as human shields for their patients. They would lay on top of them, protecting them from all the flying debris, roof coming in on them essentially, walls falling down. I mean, it's just incredible when you think about that. That is just utter bravery that I can't even imagine, but they didn't even give it a second thought. And also another story I heard, and forgive me if I'm describing this wrong, I don't really know much about the medical field, but I heard some nurses were actually manually bagging their patients who were on respirators at the time. So I think that's really amazing that these nurses, doctors, the whole staff just made sure that everybody was taken care of no matter what was going on. And even though the hospital was basically just imploding in on itself, they remained brave in the face of it. And I think that's really just incredible. Joplin Fire Station 1 was actually one of the main fire stations that were just totally decimated. Their equipment was ruined, some of their vehicles were damaged, and actually even their personal vehicles, much like St. John's Medical Center, their cars were totally totaled. It had to be a very daunting experience to have to go out and save lives when everything around you is just being ruined completely and you don't even know where to start. But despite all of that, the firefighters managed to get from A to B, as in just drove right through, got through all that debris, and just saved so many lives. And these people had families too. They weren't sure if their own house, their homes, their families, if they were okay. But they still jumped into action. They still went into town and took everything head on completely. Both the Joplin Police Department and the EMTs also played a huge and integral role. Search and rescue. They had to do traffic control. They really just had to focus and try to get as many people out of the debris that they could. Essentially, they had to find paths for emergency vehicles to come through successfully and in a quickly manner, because you had people's lives on the line. So, which also put their lives in stake too, because you had down power lines, you had very large obstructive debris like cars, pieces of homes. I mean, everything you can think of was basically just strewn across many streets in Joplin. So it's pretty commendable that they got through that and just saved so many lives. And I just don't think that's something that should be glossed over so quickly. I want to take a moment here and actually talk about Officer Jeff Taylor. Jeff Taylor, only being 31 at the time of the 2011 Joplin tornado, responded to the call of action and really put his life on the line for this job and for the Joplin community. He responded by riding on an ATV, trying to get help and search and rescue. And he did. He helped a lot of people. He saved a lot of lives. The next day, while he was trying to do search and rescue, he was on his ATV because, also, like I mentioned before, you couldn't really get a car or big vehicle through. Now, while he was responding and he was actually just done with whatever his assignment was at that moment, he unfortunately was struck by lightning, and that following June he unfortunately would pass away from his injuries from the lightning strike. However, his sacrifice wasn't in vain. He's remembered by so many people. He's remembered by the Joplin community because he's a hero. He saved so many lives when he was there and responded to the call. His name was actually even added to the National Law Enforcement's memorial in Washington, D.C., which is an incredible honor. And the Riverside Police Department also dedicated a memorial for him, so he's never going to be forgotten, and I'm sure his colleagues will never forget his strength and bravery, and I think that's really awesome that he will always be memorialized as such.